into room 502. This is the Mesa Police. Listen to my instructions.
It's a piece of video that has delayed the opening arguments in the case against a former Mesa police officer by the name of Mitch Brailsford. Brailsford is facing second-degree murder charges in the shooting death of Daniel Shaver.
Brailsford says Shaver, or he believed at the moment that Shaver was reaching for a gun during the confrontation. He wasn't following commands, but investigators did not find any weapons on him. The body cam video is causing a lot of controversy. It has delayed the start to this trial. So how will it impact this case as it moves forward? Criminal defense attorney Jason Lamm joining us this morning to explain how crucial this is. And it's a little confusing to us because we've already seen a portion of this footage, but of course it's just a portion.
Right. At the heart of this issue is the body camera video worn by the officers involved. And body cameras are a trend in recent years, but it really gives the public, and jurors in this case, a bird's eye view of what was going on. However, last year, a Superior Court judge ordered that only a small portion could be released to the public. Now, just as opening arguments were about to start, Brailsford attorney asked the judge to not allow the media to air the entirety of the footage until after the trial is over, because he didn't want jurors to be tainted.
Obviously, the prosecutors, they want to play this video in opening statements to indicate, you know, this is why we're charging him.
That's absolutely right. They do want to play it, but Javier, the issue is the defense attorney does not want the media to be able to air the whole thing.
Okay.
So here we are, not so much with a criminal defense issue, but a First Amendment issue. Does the public have a right to know? Does the public have the right to see this? And jurors have, of course, taken an oath and have been instructed not to watch any television or read the internet. And the concern is, of course, they'll see it, but if they're following their oath, it shouldn't be a problem.
So there'll be a camera in the courtroom, and so whatever airs inside of that courtroom, in theory, we would have access to. It must have been challenging to put together a jury from a defense perspective too, because everybody has a preconceived notion or experience personally with law enforcement, whether you've got a relative who's law enforcement, whether you've been stopped in a traffic stop and had a negative experience. You had to find people who were not aware of this case, which has been highly publicized, and also people who would say that they don't have some sort of feeling or emotion about law enforcement.
Well, I think that's absolutely true. But in the last few years, when police officers around the country have been the subject of accusations of excessive force, brutality, civil rights violations, it's a lot harder to pick a jury. But by and large, I think the tendency is for society as a whole to back police officers, to believe in their credibility and believe they were doing the right thing. So it's certainly a lot tougher, but this is a case that's going to come down to a judgment call that happened over a few short seconds. And that's why Officer Brailsford is charged with murder. And of course, I think he's going to have to testify in his own defense.
Let me ask you this, because in a court of public opinion, once he was let go from the Mesa Police Department, a lot of people out there said, hey, something must have been done wrong. He's guilty. Does that play into the actual case here?
No, it absolutely doesn't, Javier, because he was terminated from Mesa for various policy violations. When you were involved, and I've represented, I'll say, a lot of police officers, both, local police officers and federal agents, when you're under a criminal investigation, you really can't make a statement. But a jury won't be told about the employment situation. The judge is sort of like a referee. He wants to make sure everything is fair. And that's just not something that's going to come into play. So while we as the public may know about that, the jurors will not be told about it in any way.
And another thing the jurors won't see was the unique etchings that were against policy, but on the firearm. That was part of probably his termination in this case. But that was a bit of evidence that the defense wanted out, and it is out.
Correct. There was etchings on the department-approved AR-15 that Brailsford was carrying, and it said, "You're effed." Why that would be on there, I have no idea. I mean, it's inflammatory for a lot of different reasons. But from the judge's point of view, it's completely prejudicial. It doesn't enlighten the facts in any way. Of course, prosecutors wanted to argue that it went to the officer's mindset, how he was approaching the situation. But the judge, again, like I said, has to be a referee. Yeah. So he did a balancing test, and he said it's more distracting and confusing to the jury than enlightening to any other issue that will be decided. So the jury won't hear about that. But yeah, again, to us, we're privy to some information like the termination that the jury won't hear. So real interesting stuff. This is going to be a unique trial. We're going to watch it really closely.
Yeah, it is. Opening statements expected to start today. Thank you very much for your insight.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks.